What's up, guys? Welcome to the 49ers vs. Seahawks post-game show. Today I'm joined by a very special guest, Waruna Perera. I'm not even going to ask you how you're doing today because I'm pretty sure I know how you're doing today. But yes, the 49ers
Yes,
had a tough loss against the Seahawks. I mean, it's just frustrating all
yes.
around. It's just frustrating all
It's
around.
frustrating.
Play calling was bad. Jimmy Garoppolo straight up sucked so bad. Like, I mean, the defense played all right. They got turnovers, but what makes it even worse is the Seahawks didn't even want to win this football game. Two fumbles by Gerald Everett, the interception by Russell Wilson, which necessarily wasn't even his fault. But the Seahawks didn't even want to win this game, and the Niners still couldn't win it.
Yes, I think first of all, yes, I'm disappointed. And before we start anything, thank you for having me. This is the first time we
Yeah.
got together. So excited to be here. So what's up, Pino? So the thing is, I don't see it's bad play calling per se. Yes, there were some questionable decisions, especially that 4th and 1 situation. We got bailed out because of the penalty. Otherwise, it would have been bad. But other than that, there is certain amount of things that you can do as a coach, because now if you think about this bad play calling, it just says that Kyle Shanahan has to be 100% perfect every time he does the play calling. You can't do that. That's not human. So the coaches are going to make mistakes. The question is, when the coaches are going to make mistakes, whether the rest of the team around him, other coaches, the players will step up and offset that. That's what not is happening at the moment. I think today, we can break it down. Special from starting with the special teams, then the disciplines and defense. We know defense has some loopholes,
Yeah.
weaknesses. But the penalties that they gave up, that's why they came up like 21-23 at the halftime, because we gave away like two, one roughing the passer penalty, other one was personal foul, 30 yards on that play. So defense, again, of course, the biggest elephant in the room, Jimmy Garoppolo, everyone combined. So that's the problem, not just Kyle Shanahan. I really don't see Kyle had a bad game. It's most like the execution by the players. It was horrible.
I mean, play calling wasn't great, and I wouldn't say it was horrible, but it wasn't great, especially that one fourth and one, like you mentioned. You have Trey Lance sitting on the bench, who's faster than Jimmy Garoppolo and who's a mobile quarterback. But instead, you use Jimmy Garoppolo, who's non-mobile, who doesn't like to run, who got injured in 2018 using his legs and running. And on a fourth and one, you decide to use Jimmy Garoppolo to run that play. On fourth and one, when you have Trey Lance sitting on the bench, who's faster and who's a mobile quarterback. That makes no sense to me. That's definitely one of those questionable play calls. But then what really hurt us, I feel like, was those Jimmy Garoppolo two interceptions. Jimmy Garoppolo, those were the two dumbest interceptions I have ever seen in my life. Threw it straight to Bobby Wagner. Then you have Sherfield running right down the field, and instead of hitting Sherfield in stride, you decide to throw it to Quandre Diggs. Like, I don't understand. It could have been a miscommunication, but that bad? Really that bad? Jimmy, you should know where Trent Sherfield is going. You should know where Trent Sherfield is going. So like I don't understand that. Though both those interceptions were horrible, straight up horrible. And Kyle Shanahan, I don't know what it is, but any other team in that situation, if their starting quarterback is playing that bad, they're putting in the backup or they're putting in someone else at quarterback. But for whatever reason, Kyle kept giving Jimmy a chance and kept giving Jimmy a chance and kept giving a chance. Not even just those interceptions, but in the safety. Throw the football away. When you see you're getting rushed, throw the football away. It's as simple as that. I don't understand what Jimmy learned from Brady. The only thing that comes to mind that Jimmy learned that was good from Brady is QB sneaks. That's it. QB sneaks. Otherwise, there's nothing else that he learned from Brady. Not being poised in the pocket, not throwing the ball away when you can't, when the pocket is collapsing. He has learned nothing from Tom Brady besides the QB sneak and the interceptions. Obviously, that safety from Jimmy Garoppolo, those things hurt us and those things cost us. And the thing is, Jimmy Garoppolo, you're not throwing the ball 30, 40 times a game. You're not doing that. Other quarterbacks like Brady, when they throw 2 interceptions, they're throwing the ball 35, 40 times a game. You're throwing the ball. You're asked to throw the ball maybe 25. Obviously, we're asked to throw the ball late at the end of the game. But when you threw both those interceptions, you only threw 18 passes. And in 18 passes, you threw 2 interceptions, only had like 1 touchdown. So Jimmy Garoppolo is just not playing well. And like, I mean, I would have put in Kyle Trey Lance in that situation. Now I get it. People are like, well, what if Trey Lance fails? What if Trey Lance doesn't do well? But there's at least a benefit of Trey Lance, even if he doesn't play well. There's some sort of benefit from him playing because he's developing and he's getting game rep and he's playing and he's developing. But instead, when Jimmy Garoppolo makes those mistakes and those same exact mistakes, and if he fails, there's no benefit because he's not going to be on the team most likely next year. So those are just some of the things that stand out. And one guy who I will give props for, and I'm not going to be all like, the team sucks and not be be that big of a hater, but one guy that stepped up today was Aziz. Aziz stepped up. He had like 16 tackles, had half a sack. He balled down. He stepped up because he knew Fred Warner was out, so he stepped up. The pass rush also. The pass rush wasn't great at times. We had some, roughing the passer calls, especially at the end of the first half. But we were getting to the quarterback. Russell Wilson most of the game didn't have time to stand back in the pocket and rip it. We were getting to the quarterback most of the game. And I was at least happy about that because we were able to get to the quarterback better than we were some of the other games. But Jimmy Garoppolo has to play better. Those 2 interceptions cost us, and that safety cost us the game, I think. And even the fourth and goal, I mean, I can't blame it on him, but this was a game that you should have won because the Seahawks, they gave you all the opportunities in the world. Gerald Everett, wide open in the end zone. He kicks it up. He bobbles it. He kicks it up, and K'Wan Williams gets the interception. Same thing on the goal line. He fumbles it. He fumbles it at the end of the game on the goal line. People make fun of the Seahawks for passing on the 1 yard line or on fourth and goal. They ran it this time, or I think they tossed it or something like that. And it was a fumble. You got lucky. You should have capitalized. But I'm just saying the Seahawks didn't want to win this game, and the Niners weren't able to capitalize. The Niners just bit themselves in the foot, and Jimmy Garoppolo, period, just has to play better.
Yes, that's true. But I think I have one explanation to Jimmy Garoppolo's first interception because now you have to look. Bobby Wagner, what's his number?
54.
54. So he thought that's Fred Warner out there. Fred Warner wears the same number. So he thought, okay, this is my friend over there. Let me throw to him. That's what he was doing in the preseason, right? During the practices. That's what Jimmy was doing. So Jimmy just did the same thing because that's muscle memory. So old habits never die. So that's what happened for the first interception. The second interception, I don't know. I don't have explanation for the second interception. But all in all, I totally agree with you. But having said all that, I mean, I think part of the reason that we lost this game is the special teams. I think they bear the most blame because I was amazed how Seattle ran for a touchdown in that fourth and one of like that scenario in the very first half. I
Yeah.
couldn't understand that. How did that happen? Because now last week, my weekly article after the game, 5 takeaways, I wrote that there is nothing special about 49ers special teams and special plays. Because even today, Seattle did try a special play with Wilson throwing it to the Metcalf, Metcalf again back to the Wilson, again it's to Lockett. So it almost, I think Lockett had the separation, but he couldn't get there in time. So they have these special plays, special teams, but 49ers have nothing. They fumble the football on special plays and give up a kickoff. I mean, it was against Vikings. We gave up a kickoff return, right?
Yeah.
Just a touchdown. So this
Yeah.
week it was again bad. So I think special teams is a, I would say 60% of the blame goes to special teams. Jimmy Garoppolo did not help because his basic, what you call the requirement that we have from Jimmy Garoppolo is to play safe football, meaning don't try to do anything explosive, just manage the game, don't turn over the football. He didn't do that. I think he probably for some reason he could not come back from his mistakes. I don't think now people would come back and say that. the last drive he played well. We almost were there. We got to the 4 yard line. I mean, sorry, the goal line, but the coverages were soft, right?
Mhm.
Seahawks weren't rushing the quarterback, or they didn't try. They were just allowing the clock to tick off and stuff. So I think because that argument came up when Trey Lance scored against Seahawks in the first game. The initial counter argument was that the coverage was soft. Seattle were playing soft coverage. Okay, if that is the case, that's what I saw in this game as well. So
Yeah,
don't say Jimmy Garoppolo had a great last drive. He almost win that game. So no, Jimmy Garoppolo could not get the job done.
yeah,
If you so, I think uh, I'm disappointed as well because I thought it's the turning point that we have to hand over the keys to Trey Lance. I thought actually Trey Lance would come in at a certain point, but it did not happen.
yeah,
But
yeah. If Jimmy Garoppolo, like some of the other games you look at, Minnesota, Jimmy Garoppolo throws an interception. He bounces back. Jimmy Garoppolo didn't bounce back. He gets the safety. He throws another interception. I'm like, Kyle, in my mind, I'm like, how much does Jimmy Garoppolo have to screw up? How many times? How many times does Jimmy Garoppolo have to screw up for you to be like, you know what? Let me put in Chin to see how well he does. I get it. If Jimmy Garoppolo throws one interception, fine, and you give Jimmy Garoppolo another chance and he comes back. But Jimmy Garoppolo threw another interception. He had a safety, so Jimmy Garoppolo kept screwing up, and he kept screwing up, and he kept making mistakes. How much does Jimmy Garoppolo have to make mistakes for you to be like, you know what? Let me try to put in Trey Lance. You say you have packages for Trey Lance every game. So that shouldn't be an issue if you're putting in Trey Lance. But Jimmy Garoppolo kept screwing up over and over and over again. I don't know how much Jimmy Garoppolo has to screw up for Kyle to be like, you know what, let me put in Trey Lance to see how well he does. And if Trey Lance, I was talking to my uncle during the game. I was texting to my uncle. He's like, well, if they put in Trey Lance, what if he fails? Well, if he fails, at least there's some sort of benefit from him failing because he's getting experience. Where with Jimmy Garoppolo, there is no benefit. It's just that he keeps sucking over and over and over again, and then next year he's not going to be on the team no more, most likely. So there's not really that much benefit if Jimmy Garoppolo keeps making those mistakes. At least with Trey Lance making those mistakes, he's at least going to learn from those mistakes, and he's getting experience playing in the game.
yes, that's true. I mean, but at the same time, I was thinking. I mean, I'm not joking here. Basically, after all these things, I thought, okay, this is. I was angry. I was thinking like, okay, this is the time we replace Jimmy Garoppolo with Trey Lance. Then again, I thought, okay, did we make a mistake by drafting Trey Lance? Because you have a starting quarterback, $27 million of worth, who is playing like, let me call it, garbage, hot piece of garbage, and still the number three pick cannot replace that guy. The team does not trust the number three draft pick to replace this guy. So I was just thinking like whether we did a mistake by drafting Trey Lance. Uh, I would say we need a separate discussion on this, but the way Mac Jones is playing right now at New England, I just had this feeling because, okay, that guy is bowling out. His defense is helping. At the same time, they score points as well because they are like in top five in terms of points per game. So I
Yeah.
was just thinking, why can't Trey Lance really replace Jimmy Garoppolo? Was it just because of 49ers already have a plan that, okay, no matter what happens, Jimmy is our guy for this season? Or for some reason, oh man, Trey Lance isn't that good. Still, I mean, imagine the situation, right? The worst, this is the bad Jimmy Garoppolo we saw today. Even the bad Jimmy Garoppolo is good enough to keep Trey Lance on the bench. That really scares me. That really do scares me.
Now, here's one way I look at it. Either Trey Lance might not be good enough, but Trey Lance has all the keys and tools to be a good quarterback. Trey Lance is mobile. He has a better arm than Jimmy Garoppolo. He's the one thing that I would say he needs to work on is accuracy and putting a little bit less, force into his throws. Or Jimmy Garoppolo, he overthrows his receivers by like overthrow and throws it over their head by like 20 yards and throws it super high over their head. But with Trey Lance, he rips it always. Well, that might be a little scent, he'll rip it and he puts a little bit too much zip on the ball. But the way I look at it is that Trey Lance, he has the work ethic. And it's what I look at is Kyle. It's your job to make Trey Lance ready. It's your job to do that. As a coach, it's your job to make Trey Lance ready. Matt Jones, if you look at Matt Jones, he's in New England, but New England with Bill Belichick and that offensive coordinator Mike McDaniel, they're making Matt Jones look good. Matt Jones, he's smart, he is accurate, but you put Matt Jones with his smart and accuracy on a team like the Jets or the Jacksonville Jaguars, it wouldn't have the same results. But Bill Belichick and Mike McDaniel make Matt Jones look good every week, and Matt Jones executes, and he's good at executing. I'm not going to take that away. He is executing what Mike McDaniel and Bill Belichick are asking him to do. But Mike McDaniel and Bill Belichick are putting him and making an offensive game plan for him to succeed. Where with Trey Lance, I don't know. It could be. We could find. We'll probably realize next year when if he does play, if he wasn't good enough and if he's not playing well. But the way I look at it right now is that Kyle Shanahan and them, either they don't feel confident in Trey Lance or they just feel he's not ready. And that if they feel that he's not ready, Kyle, it's your job to make him ready. As a head
Yeah.
coach, if you have this third overall draft pick sitting on the bench, it's your job to make sure he is ready when you need him to play. It's your job to make sure he is ready.
Yeah,
If he
that's
can't,
true.
if he goes out there and he can't execute, that's on him. But if you feel like he's not ready, that's on you because it's your job as a head coach to make sure that he is ready.
Yeah,
Just how like the
that,
Justin Fields and Matt Nagy situation, especially after that Cleveland Browns game. Cleveland Brown after Cleveland Brown, he got sacked like 9 times. That wasn't on Justin Fields.
yes.
That was on Matt Nagy because Matt Nagy had all the way from till April or May to make this guy ready and build a game plan around him that'll work for him. But instead, he didn't do that. So as a, if he had a proper game plan for him and Justin Fields couldn't execute, that's on Justin Fields. But in this whole situation, either we might find out if Chance isn't good enough next year. But the way I look at it right now is that Kyle, you feel like he's not ready, but that's on you because it's your job as a head coach to make sure Trey Lance is ready to go.
Yeah, that's true. Because that's why, as I said, it worries me how much are we going to be ready even with the next season if Jimmy goes, how we are going to be ready with the Trey Lance. Because I think right now, talking about Jimmy Garoppolo just not worth it because that let's say we discuss about Jimmy Garoppolo, his mistakes, his limitations. It doesn't make him better quarterback. It doesn't make him a smart decision maker. He is what he is. So just average quarterback at times have good games. Now the problem is how much 49ers are planning around Trey Lance. So that's what got me thinking after this game because probably after 5-10 minutes after the game, the madness. I mean, at the after that batted pass on fourth and goal, I was really mad. After 5-10 minutes, like okay, I calmed down and I started thinking, okay, let's move beyond this game and what's next for us. And next for us, it doesn't look good either. The future doesn't look good either, as you said, because it seems like Trey Lance has already wasted a season, valuable season that he could have gained experience, uh, play well. Because especially if you take the last three games, we had like every game we had like 60% of the possession in terms of time, and our passing versus rushing attempts were like against like 65%, 35%. So Trey Lance can operate that kind of a game. He doesn't have to do too much, but he's not trusted to do that. So, which gives me real questions. I'm really skeptical what's going to happen. But Jimmy Garoppolo is in the past. I don't think whether I mean we can go on a rant about Jimmy Garoppolo, his level of play, but it doesn't come out with any positive uh, thing for us to take home because
Well, let's not even
that's the
talk
thing.
about how bad he's playing. For the fans that always say, "Well, we win with Jimmy Garoppolo," and before even in the game, Jimmy Garoppolo 30-12 as a starter. Please stop showing that graphic. Please, please, please. If you know the full backstory behind that, you look at 2017, won you 6 games. That was Jimmy Garoppolo. He was great. I'm not going to take anything away from Jimmy Garoppolo because the team wasn't that great. Jimmy Garoppolo played well. He did what Russell Wilson was doing in the last couple of seasons in Seattle. Not this year because Seattle's 3-8. But what Russell Wilson was doing in Seattle the last couple of years when they would win 10 games and make it to playoffs, That's what Jimmy Garoppolo was doing in 2017. 2018, he gets hurt. And CJ Beathard, or whoever the starter, was Nick Bosa on that team. Was Fred Warner the all pro Fred Warner that we know and we saw now? No, the team was completely different. And then in 2019, we had the stable run game. The defense and the defensive line was dominant with Nick Bosa, DeForest Buckner, Eric Armstead had 10 sacks, and there was pieces. Debo Samuel, George Kittle was breaking out and had a breakout year. So, like, when you look at Jimmy Garoppolo's win percentage, Jimmy Garoppolo, he won in one season, which was 2019. 2020, he was injured for the majority of the season, and in 2018, he was injured for the majority of the season. In both those seasons, 2020, we already know, we were riddled with injuries. Nick Bosa was injured. The only guy that was starting that was good for the Niners defense and that was playing, that was healthy for majority of the season, and that played the whole season last year, was Fred Warner. That's why you saw Fred Warner making every tackle like Aziz Ansari was making today in the first, especially in the first half, tackle after tackle, making plays because nobody was healthy on that defense in 2020, and nor was the offense.
Yes.
Debo was missing games. George Kittle was missing games. So it's like you expect CJ Beathard or Nick Mullins to win without Debo, without George Kittle, with Ayuk who's a rookie, without Nick Bosa, with Eric Armstead not producing to the level that he's supposed to produce, especially with the how much he's getting paid. It's like when you look at those situations, Jimmy Garoppolo, yes, he won in 2019, but 2019 the stars aligned and Jimmy Garoppolo, all the majority of the team was healthy. Nick Bosa was dominant his rookie year, and the stars aligned, and Jimmy Garoppolo had one winning season. But you put him in the circumstances that Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard had to deal with in 2018 and in 2020 with all the injuries, and in 2018 the team wasn't how it is right now. Jimmy Garoppolo would not be doing well. Jimmy Garoppolo, we wouldn't be talking about if Jimmy Garoppolo had the same win percentage because we see it in these games also. Like without Debo Samuel, Jimmy sucked. Jimmy straight up sucked without Debo Samuel. It's period. Like CJ Beathard and Nick Mullins didn't have Debo Samuel. Debo Samuel was injured both those years. Debo Samuel wasn't on the team in 2018, and then in 2020, Debo Samuel was injured the majority of the season. So it's like we see Jimmy Garoppolo without Debo Samuel. Debo Samuel is more of an integral part of the offense this season with how we line up him in the backfield, how we use as as a receiver. He's a dynamic weapon. So it's like one of those things where we saw it today without Debo Samuel. Jimmy Garoppolo sucks, and I said it before the game. I was like, I said, shout out to CG. I went on his channel. I did a what's it called? Preview 49 Seahawks preview with Norbcam and Sam Dog, the infamous. On his channel, I'm like, if this game comes down to Jimmy Garoppolo having to use his arm and put the team on his back and use his arm and win the football game, we're going to lose. And we saw it to Jimmy Garoppolo when you need him to throw the ball, when you need him to make plays, Jimmy Garoppolo can't do that for you. And without Debo Samuel, Jimmy Garoppolo sucked even more. So it's like even the second interception, like the second interception, either that could be Sherfield's not running the right route, but Jimmy Garoppolo straight up threw it to the safety. It wasn't even like one of those things where he just like threw it to the safety. The camera didn't even catch it until the camera was like, he threw it to the safety. So the camera moved it and moved it to Quandre Diggs. But Jimmy Garoppolo without Debo Samuel just didn't play well today. And then the win record, like I already gave you my explanation for the win record because the win record doesn't tell you the full story and the full picture. And we even saw today without Debo Samuel is a huge part of offense, but in 2018 the team wasn't the same, and in 2020 we had more injuries than just Debo Samuel being out. George Kittle was out, like I mentioned. So it's like one of those things where, with one guy being out, Jimmy Garoppolo just played horrible. So I don't want to hear fans being like, "Oh, Jimmy Garoppolo, we win with Jimmy Garoppolo." We haven't been winning recently with Jimmy Garoppolo, and I already explained why the win record does not explain everything about how Jimmy Garoppolo wins football games.
Yes, I mean that's true. Because other thing, but I mean the point that you mentioned about Debo. So that was one key points I wrote about my preview article this week. How much we are going to miss Debo. I think we saw that today, but luckily, uh, George Kittle he showed up. I think he had the best game of the season. That
Yeah.
the George Kittle that we wanted to see, he was there today. But uh, part of the reason was our run. I did not think that our run game was that effective compared to the last 3 weeks because last
Mhm.
3 weeks our run game was so effective. We could take the time off the clock. We would gain some chunk yards, but today it was like average. So I think that's a part of the reason. Now we are depending. too much on certain players in the offense. Now putting
Um,
into the context,
two, Elijah Mitchell and Debo Samuel. You take both of those players out of the equation, I don't know. The Niners offense would be horrible, horrible.
yes, yes. So that's the one thing. So that's why I think that Jimmy Garoppolo becomes frustrating because if you take like I mean, it's unfair to compare Aaron Rodgers versus Jimmy Garoppolo. But now let's just take a moment. David Bakhtiari is missing up to now in the season. Does it affect Aaron Rodgers? No,
No.
he adjusts his game. Then Devante Adams is missing for some time, some games. Uh, Aaron Jones is missing for some games, but still, Rodgers is able to adjust, make in-game adjustments. I mean, whatever the planning and everything to win games. So I think that's the biggest problem that we have with Jimmy is that his inability to go on his own when you don't have these players around you. So as I think we have discussed this point over and over. So it scares me really. I mean, it scares me a lot because the next game against Bengals. So don't get yourselves fooled thinking that Bengals got beaten today by 41 to 22 score in the hands of Chargers. It did not tell the real story of that game, the score line, because Bengals had so many mistakes today. If Bengals play good football, like Joe Burrow throwing outside the numbers, making plays and everything, if they don't do the mistakes, turnovers, next week going to be really tough because I'm not sure Debo is going to be back for the next game. It's going to be tough. So
If
that's
Debo,
what I'm thinking.
yeah, if Debo's not back for the next game, most likely we will lose because Debo's such an integral part of the offense. And like with Debo, we saw without Debo today, it just wasn't the same. It wasn't the same. You couldn't
Yes,
use Debo in the backfield. You couldn't do all the things that you do in this offense. But my issue is like you said, like with Aaron Rodgers, without Bakhtiari, he adapts and he steps it up. And he's like, I'm gonna put, you know what, I gotta play better because the guy that's crucial to my team isn't there. So I'm the next man up. I have to play better in order for my team to win. Where Jimmy Garoppolo, he sucks. He doesn't elevate his game. He plays worse. Mac Jones is better than Jimmy Garoppolo. Period. And Mac Jones is a
yes,
rookie. Mac Jones, Mac Jones, when you need him to make plays and when you need him to make the throws, he will do it. Now, I'm not saying that Mac Jones is great. I'm not saying Mac Jones is a top 10 quarterback in football. But with Mac Jones, even when his defense plays well, and you know the run game is going. But when you need Mac Jones to make the throws and make plays, he can do that. We saw it in that game against the Cowboys. Mac Jones, his team was down 5 minutes, 3 minutes left, like that. The game is about to end. Mac Jones has to make that throw. Mac Jones made the throw. So when you need Mac Jones, when you can't run the football because you have to make a play and you need Mac Jones to make the throw, and you put the team on Mac Jones' backs, and you have to rely on Mac Jones to make a throw, Mac Jones can do that. But with Jimmy Garoppolo, when Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't have his pieces around him, and he doesn't have his guys, Jimmy Garoppolo stinks. Even like
yeah,
it's as simple as that. Even with this guy, like last week, he still threw an interception. Now I get he might have not seen Harrison Smith, and that was a great play by Harrison Smith last game. But it would have probably been the same thing against Minnesota if we didn't have Debo Samuel, we didn't have Fred Warner, we didn't have Drake Greenlaw. It would have probably been the
yeah,
same thing, especially if we didn't have Debo in the Minnesota game. It would probably be the same thing. Jimmy Garoppolo throwing interceptions, making mistakes. Now the run game was better that game, but I go sometimes I check out Twitter Spaces, and I forgot who said it, but when teams stack the box against the Niners, especially in the playoffs, and we're not able to run the football effectively, like we were today, Elijah Mitchell had like 22 carries and had 66 yards. He had 3 yards average per carry. When we can't run the football effectively, and the run game is just not working, the run game isn't efficient, and Jimmy Garoppolo has to make the throws and win the game using his arm. Can he do that? No. We saw it today. He simply can't do that. And that's my biggest issue with Jimmy Garoppolo. One of the biggest issues I have with Jimmy Garoppolo. Because what happens if we do make the playoffs? Especially if we play Tampa Bay the first game of the season. I mean, the first game of the postseason. And we have to go down to Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay stopping the run and stacking the box against us. And Jimmy Garoppolo has to make throws and thread the needle and not turn over the football, not not fumble and not get sacked, not take sacks, and be smart and make smart decisions with the football. Can Jimmy Garoppolo do that? No, I don't think so. And it just showed me proof this today that he can't do that.
I think, I mean, I would ask you a question back, but as I said, the Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to change. He is who he is. But looking at the next week, now we are 6-6. Six more games to yes, we are 6-6. We have five more games. That includes two tough games with Bengals and Rams. So other games would be, I believe it's Texans. Uh, then we have
Tennessee,
Falcons,
Tennessee.
Tennessee. So okay. With the Tennessee, it's three tough games. So immediately, if we are looking at the next week game, what do you think we have to do to win next week? What are the things that we can, let's say, what are the mistakes that we can correct from this week and move forward? Because this game is already done. We already lost this game. I think there is nothing to learn in terms of Jimmy Garoppolo because he is not going to get better in 1 week. He is not going to be like top 10 quarterback in 1 week. It's not going to happen. But other than that, do you have any hope that this team can turn it around and go to Cincinnati and win a game just to get back on track?
Biggest question is Debo Samuel playing? Is Debo Samuel playing? Because when you have we also saw today, like, Elijah Mitchell is only one guy. You can't rely on Elijah Mitchell so much. At the end of the day, he's a rookie. He's only one guy. So Elijah Mitchell, he got stopped today. He wasn't Elijah Mitchell having a 100-yard game and having 2 touchdowns. He wasn't that Elijah Mitchell that we've seen the last couple of weeks. With Debo Samuel, though, if we don't have Debo, so he's Elijah Mitchell, we can stop Elijah Mitchell. Teams can stop Elijah Mitchell. Teams can neutralize Elijah Mitchell. So if we go to Cincinnati and Debo's not playing, yes, this Bengals can stop Elijah Mitchell. That's no problem because we saw also it might be a little bit different story, but we've seen Elijah Mitchell can be neutralized. And if the defense
True.
plays well, you can't neutralize Elijah Mitchell. But we haven't seen that with Debo Samuel. Debo Samuel, this whole entire season, to the ups and downs, when the Niners offense has been struggling, Debo Samuel has been that one bright spot of the offense. Whether that might be him lining up in the backfield and running for a 30-yard touchdown as a running back, or that might be him catching a little screen pass from Jimmy Garoppolo and running 60, 70 yards and taking it to the house. Debo Samuel has just not been able. No team has been able to figure out Debo Samuel this season, and that's my biggest question mark. Is if Debo Samuel can play against Cincinnati, we can have a chance. We will definitely be able to have a chance. But if Debo Samuel doesn't play, the only other way I see us win is Kyle Shanahan has to call a perfect game plan. Perfect game plan. Because those are the only two ways, especially if Debo Samuel doesn't play, that's the only way I see us winning. But then even then, if Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't execute that game plan, we're probably gonna lose. But the only two ways I see us winning is if Debo Samuel plays. Even if the rest of the remainder of the season, if Debo Samuel doesn't play, then we're screwed. But Kyle Shanahan, if Debo doesn't play next week, in particular, Kyle Shanahan has to call a perfect game plan in order for us to win. We saw it on Sunday Night Football last year against the Rams. Jimmy Garoppolo had that ankle injury. Kyle's gonna say, Jimmy drop back, throw the football, little jet sweeps to Debo. Even Debo's in that, but little jet sweeps or making him run the football in the running game is effective. Those are some of the things, even like it's in New Orleans in 2019. What a game plan by Kyle Shanahan. Some things from Kyle Shanahan, I was like, wait, like Kyle Shanahan's pulling out all the tricks from his bag. He's pulling out like all the stops. So like stuff like that. If Kyle Shanahan, if Debo's not playing next week, it's more pressure on Kyle Shanahan for him to call a perfect game if we want to win, especially in Cincinnati next week. But if Kyle Shanahan doesn't call a perfect game plan, if Debo's not playing, most likely we're gonna lose.
That's true. And one thing I believe the Debo Samuel effect. Today we saw that with one play design that George Kittle tried to
Yeah,
tried the same
yeah.
play like Debo, but he wasn't effective as Debo in that play. So that's true. I think that's my biggest worry because uh, I thought this would be the perfect opportunity for us to end, give the Seattle their first losing season with Russell Wilson and get the win, moving to 7-5, have some cushion going into Cincinnati, even if If we lost that game next week, then we have some confidence. Okay, we can turn it back because we have some more games to play. But now, right now, it seems really hard. Given that I forgot about Tennessee when I bought Cincinnati and Rams, I forgot Tennessee. Tennessee is up and down at the moment. You never know what will happen, but I think all in all, this is a good game that we understood the realities for one more time because we knew this. This is nothing new. I don't think you are surprised that Jimmy Garoppolo played like this. I don't think you are surprised that special teams had a day like this. Everything. Our run game failing without Debo. He's a wide receiver, but he's a key part of our run game. So everything. So these are the things that we already knew. I don't think we learned anything that we didn't know from past 12 weeks or maybe for the past 1.5 years. So everything, it's like just history repeating itself. So only thing we can do is just hope for the best that next week there will be a different result. That team will come back, regroup, get their energy, and find a way to win a hard road game, um, cold conditions. So let's hope for the best.
Yeah, but last thing I gotta say before we wrap the show up is that these two losses this season of Seattle in specific, it was not on the defense. If anybody put this on the defense, it was not on the defense. The defense got an interception. The defense forced two fumbles, especially on that last on Seattle's last drive. They got that fumble. It was not on the defense. Both games, especially in the first one, five straight 3-and-outs. The offense couldn't score. This game, the offense couldn't score. See, the defense made the stops, but the offense couldn't capitalize. And we saw this game in specific is that without Debo Samuel, Elijah Mitchell can be neutralized, but without Debo Samuel, Jimmy Garoppolo does not take his game to a next level. Jimmy Garoppolo does not step up. He becomes even worse. He becomes more mediocre than he already is. So Debo Samuel, if you don't have Debo Samuel for the remainder of the season, or if Debo Samuel can't play next week, most likely it will not be pretty unless Kyle Shanahan calls a perfect game plan. But these two losses in specific were not on the defense. The defense did all they could. The offense just could not capitalize and could not execute.
Exactly. I think this. I mean, I don't. I agree with you because it's not that defense played great. I mean, they had their mistakes too, but I think it's overall the offense and special teams, of course, contributed more to this loss. So it's unfortunate, but we have to see what will happen in the next game because next game would be a turning point. It
Yep.
will tell us okay whether this team can turn it around or not because it's a must-win game. It becomes virtually a playoff game next week, so you never know what will happen. But let's hope for the best, as I said.
You know what stings more? We're behind in the playoffs rankings to a team with no name. Let that
Yes,
sink in, Kyle. We are behind a team in the playoff picture with no name. They are called the Washington Football Team. We are behind in the playoff picture to a team that doesn't have a name. Let that sink in, Kyle. Hopefully the Niners play better next week. I appreciate you for joining me, Waruna. If you haven't already, go follow Waruna on Twitter. Genuine Waruna. The link is also in the description for Waruna's Twitter. If you haven't already, go check out Waruna's articles at 49ersi.com. I think 49ersi now, something like that. I think, right?
yes,
Yeah, so go check out Waruna's articles. I'm pretty sure he's going to do an article after this game also sometime, either tonight or sometimes later this week. So go check out Waruna's articles on si.com, 49ersi.com. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. You know, it would be greatly, greatly appreciated. Hit this video with a like. Hopefully the Niners bounce back next week. Next week for the Niners is definitely a crucial game. I appreciate you for joining me, Runa. Go Niners as always, and we'll see you guys next time.